Pradeep Haldar. He just returned from an overseas trip. He picked up a stomach flu, and I was tapped to step in. He was really trying to come in today for this, but he really didn't feel it was wise to spread whatever his stomach flu around. So I think we all appreciate that. It's my real pleasure today, because I was able to step in for Pradeep, but also to have a time with our panelists and presenters here today. And it's, I think you're going to find it to be a very interesting and synergistic experience, in that we are really planning on having a two-way exchange here as a roundtable with our panelists. First, I'd like to give a little background and talk about the Entrepreneurial Bootcamp. It was developed by the Incubators for collaborating and leveraging energy and nanotechnology, called iCLEAN. The Entrepreneurial Bootcamp is a 6-part series designed to provide insight and education on some of the hottest topics in the energy arena. This program is supported by the National Science Foundation's Partnerships for Innovation program, the CLEAN program. iCLEAN, a NYSERDA-funded clean energy incubator serving the Tech Valley region. And I just would like to point out NYSERDA's driving force behind this program, as well as the iCLEAN incubator. Of course, the Energy and Environmental Technology Applications Center that Pradeep leads at the College of Nanoscale Science and Engineering, and his team, Michelle and Emily and Nick, they're in the audience, so maybe they're outside. And then, of course, the New Energy New York and the Clean Energy Alliance that is sponsored by the Department of Energy and NREL. So first, to start off our discussion today, we're going to have a presentation from two gentlemen that are associated, they're partners with Holland & Knight. One from New York City, Richard Reisman, and a second from Boston, Jeff Sewell. Each brings a unique understanding and in-depth knowledge on structuring technology transactions and intellectual property by Richard. And Jeff's focus is more on the business and finance structures for IP-driven companies. To give a little background on Richard Reisman, again, he's a partner at Holland & Knight. He concentrates on computer law, outsourcing, complex technology transactions, and intellectual property issues. He has significant experience in structuring technology transactions, and his information technology background and understanding of the law have made him uniquely qualified to represent clients for technology issues. Mr. Reisman has been selected by Chambers as one of America's leading outsourcing lawyers. He has also been named by Super Lawyers as a top practitioner. He has litigated, reported cases for the New York State and federal courts, and prior to practicing law, Mr. Reisman was a systems engineer for IBM Corporation. So again, IBM's lineage touching throughout for 6 years. Mr. Reisman writes a monthly column on technology law for the New York Law Journal, and holds a BS from MIT and a JD from Brooklyn Law School. We'll also, now he's going to be tag teaming with Jeff Sewell, also a partner at Holland & Knight. And Jeff is co-chair of Holland & Knight's Venture Capital and Emerging Companies team. So you can kind of see the tag team here. His practice is focused on corporate matters, mergers and acquisitions, and joint ventures, licensing arrangements, and other strategic transactions. Mr. Sewell represents clients in the IT, clean tech, and biotech sectors. Prior to joining Holland & Knight, Jeff was general counsel of Groove Networks, a software company founded by Ray Ozzie, who creates Lotus Notes, and succeeded Bill Gates as Microsoft's chief software architect. Jeff holds a Bachelor's of Arts from Regis College in Denver, Master's in Technology from Harvard Divinity School, Theology from Harvard Divinity School, and a law degree from Harvard Law School, JD from Colorado Law School, and a LLM from Harvard Law School. Please welcome Richard Reisman, and he'll be joined by Jeff Folsom.
Oh, well.
Here.
No?
I'll do that. Oh, you can't see it from here. Ah, that's the
Oh, maybe you did get a flash.
I see. Here, let's see preview.
Full screen.
Yeah, there, oh, there you go. There we go. Now we can get it.
Okay, that's good. Actually, that's perfect.
Not the full screen?
It is full screen. It is. It shows up full screen.
Yeah.
Well, thank you very much, Michael, for that introduction. As Michael said, my name is Richard Raisman. I'm from New York City, and I'm honored to be here at the center of the research triangle in the Northeast, which is Boston, Albany, and New York. And of course, Boston and New York have a little bit of a head start, but I think Albany is close behind. Jeff and I are not too competitive. My partner Jeff is going to speak after me, but I just wanted to mention that in 2010, New York City had 208 venture deals, and Boston had only 207 venture deals. So we're a little ahead. Actually, New York's becoming somewhat of a high-tech town. Google just bought the largest building in New York. By square footage, not by height. Bloomberg, the company, not the mayor, is renting another half a building for their people, and New York is becoming maybe not quite as high tech as Boston, but it's on its way. I did a little bit of research before I got here on photovoltaics, what the history is, and here we are in 2011. But the conversion of light into electrical energy was discovered as early as 1839, which was a little before today, by the French physicist Edward Becquerel. And but it took over 100 years for it to really start becoming developed. So really, photovoltaics didn't start to become developed until the 1940s, and but it was discovered in 1839. The term was first used in 1890, and it's not clear exactly who first used the term. I think in the industry, costs are continuing to decline, as we all know, and we talked about that earlier. So it's going to make manufacturing much more attractive. There are all types of funding sources. Jeff's going to be talking about some of that. I just wanted to mention that NYSERDA, which is right in the area here, awarded $11.3 million for renewable energy products in 2010. There's Jeff Peterson is here, going to be here from NYSERDA. My facts may or may not be correct, but I did read that in an article, so hopefully that was somewhat accurate. We're going to be talking about raising capital today, and raising capital is not easy, and you really have to be prepared. It's a close call. And what does Derek Jeter have to do with raising capital? Most of you, I think all of you, unless you're living on another planet, know who Derek Jeter is. But there was an event that happened last August in a baseball game, which you may have read about. Derek Jeter, he's a righty, I think. He was at bat, and the ball came in and hit the end of the bat. It was an inside pitch, and it hit the end of the bat and bounced into the infield to the third baseman. So it hit the end of the bat, and Derek Jeter sort of grimaced like he was hit by the ball. And it bounced off the end of the bat to the third baseman. Third baseman fielded it, threw it to first base. Derek Jeter didn't start running at all. He just sort of stood at the plate and sort of grimaced and came away. The umpire said that he had been hit by the ball, and therefore he was awarded first base. After the game, for some inexplicable reason, Derek Jeter admitted that he had not been hit by the ball. And so at that point, and they had instant replays and everything else, and he said, well, I really wasn't hit by the ball, but I took first base. So he has a gold-plated reputation. So the next day he goes and takes the field, and the crowd starts chanting, "Jeter, cheater." And so at the end of that game, he had to explain that there are a lot of close calls in baseball, and you know, if you're a player, you don't tell the umpire, by the way, I was really out, I wasn't safe, and you called me safe. Or you know, somebody who tagged a runner sliding into second base, and the umpire called him out, and the infielder said, "Well, I didn't really tag him; he was really safe." He says, you know, that's just the way the game is played. But it struck me is that in raising capital, the difference between success and failure is being prepared. It's a close call in raising capital. And the preparation is key, because without proper preparation, a company is not going to raise capital. So to raise capital, the requirements for success is you need to have a great idea. You have to show that the great idea is scalable, that the market is large, that the great idea is scalable nationally and probably internationally. And it's achievable, because nobody's going to invest without those requirements. Anybody raising capital has to assemble the right team, which means most venture capitalists or equity investors are not going to invest in one person. They want to see an experienced team or a smart team that they can invest in. It's crucial to recruit experienced advisors. You can have an advisory board. A good plan, and it's really a good business plan. Any company to be successful, even a company in operation and doing business, really has to have a written business plan that's a living product. Because without the business plan, if you're not going to get the attention of the venture capitalists or the investors, if it might not be a venture capitalist, it might be a private investor, if you're not going to get their attention in the first 3 sentences and then really keep their attention all the way through that business plan, you're not going to get financing. So they're part of good preparation. And then there's execution in their preparation. I'm going to just have a brief discussion of protecting a great idea, and then I'm going to turn it over to Jeff on the funding portion. So another thing that investors are going to look for is they're going to look to make sure that the intellectual property is properly protected. If a company with a great idea goes to an investor and hasn't applied for patents on that intellectual property, that's going to dramatically decrease the ability to generate funding. So filing for patents are enormously important. There's an upfront expense, obviously, but it's not a huge expense, and certainly anybody with a good idea needs to file for 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 patents, get that rolling. The patents aren't going to be issued for several years, but be able to show the investors that the patents have been filed for. 2 of the biggest mistakes I think that startup companies make is not having the proper NDAs and non-disclosure agreements in place, because without a non-disclosure agreement, the ideas can be misappropriated. A lot of people with ideas go to larger companies, and although they shall remain nameless, but the larger companies a lot of times don't sign the NDAs, and then somehow a different division of the larger company develops the same thing, and that happens all the time. The other overlooked issue is something called the work-for-hire agreement. There are independent contractors working on this technology. It's extraordinarily important to have a written document from those independent contractors. You know, some students or whoever it is that you have working for you sign a document assigning over all copyright, patent, and intellectual property rights to the company. Because without that, particularly on the copyright side, the independent contractor at some later date, if you're a failure, no problem. But if your company becomes successful, if that document has not been signed, those independent contractors can come after the company and claim some sort of a joint ownership in the product. And I don't know if anybody saw The Social Network here, but that was a perfect example of a startup company. They, sort of fast and loose.